Good morning. Welcome to our conference. My name, as most of you know, is Cristiana Parisis. I'm the project coordinator of the Reflow project. And it's a great honor for me to have the current acting president of CBS, Askhave, with us to open our City Circular Conference, Reflow and Beyond, and to celebrate the project results with us. So welcome, Inge. You can come to the stage.
Thank you very much. Is it on? Yeah? Great. Perfect. Wow, it's great to be here in this room and actually together with people and doing something which is so important, a conference with a theme of Reflow and Beyond. It's great to be here. My name is Inge Askhave. I'm acting president of CBS. I've been at CBS for a year now, and I have been so impressed by the institution and the strategy of wanting to transform society with business, and I think this is a perfect example of what we're trying to achieve as a research institution. So today, as it says up here, we're going to celebrate the project results, the outcomes, and the legacy of Reflow. I'd like to start my small speech here today with a story about another project, which is also based on protecting the environment. It's about sanitation and a man named Jack Sim, and perhaps you know the story, some of you. Jack Sim is a businessman who back in 2001 founded the World Toilet Organization. He wanted to give global spotlight to sanitation and advocate for clean sanitation for everybody. So one of his first destinations was for building school toilets in rural China. Later he described how he and his people at one school created a very nice building with toilets and how happy he was with the results. Until he came back later and realized that the principal of the school had moved his office to the toilet because he thought the toilet was more beautiful than the school and his original office. In another place, the toilets were still brand new after a year. And then they explained to Jack Sim, oh yeah, but that's because we only use it for guests because it's so nice, the owners proudly explained. But this taught the businessman an important lesson. You have to adapt the new to the existing, and you must remember to bring locals on board. I'm happy to see that this is exactly what you have done in the Reflow project, a project where you look for social, environmental, as well as economic outcomes, and where it has been natural to bring the locals on board. In fact, Reflow has brought 28 partners from 10 European countries on board. It combines the approaches of very different partners, including universities, grassroots organizations, municipalities, research institutions, designers, and developers. So it's been a very large project indeed, the largest EU-coordinated project ever granted to CBS, actually. And that's something to be very proud of. And a project which has brought universities and societies together. I know it's your ambition that your results from the pilot cities can offer guidelines and tools to other cities in their transition to becoming circular. I really, really hope you succeed in doing this. Because as we speak, I'm sure the waste of materials continues all over the world. Many cities are in need for some circular principles. So I think I better leave you to your work now. I wish you all a wonderful and rewarding day, and good luck with Reflow. Thank you.
We will have a follow-up keynote by Hanne Harmsen, the Green Transformation Officer at CBS. So thank you so much for being here, Hanne.
Of course, thank you. Okay, so I'm a little bit panicked now because actually almost my time is up. And I'm really Danish, so I like to keep time. I was married to a German. I've been married many times, but I was also married to a German. And he said I was more punctual than any German he ever met. So I'm a little bit panicking, but what I'm going to talk about is something I love so much, so I'm sorry, I'm taking 20 minutes of your time. And let me start a really strange place. I will start with myself. Because I have a title called Green Transformation Officer. And I've only been at CBS for, 1.5 years. And when I found out that they wanted to do a strategic project to actually put CBS more on the map in terms of green transition, be much clearer in terms of research, education, whatever we do. I thought that was a beautiful project. And we negotiated, you can see I'm really old, so I have lots of nice titles behind me, and we negotiated my title. And my son, who is in McKinsey, he said, Mom, a really cool title is to be Chief Transformation Officer. So I went to the president and I said, I would like to be Chief Transformation Officer. And he said, no, then it sounds like you're responsible for all transformation at CBS. I said, okay, that's okay. Let me be Green Transformation Officer. But I actually think we share that, everybody in this room, because it's green, it's about sustainability, it's transformation, it's about change. And I'm really sorry for the war, as everybody else. But for me, being an officer actually means that you take responsibility for action. I think that's what I try to do. I think that's what you are trying to do in Reflow, not just to talk about things, but to take responsibility for action. And I think that's really, really important. Now, we are a business school, and you probably think that all we talk about is money. It's almost true, but not entirely. Because our strategy, actually, our tagline is that we transform society with business. It's super nice. The board signed this in June 2020. We also have a really nice vision. You don't have to read all of it. It's kind of, the same. Transform society with business by tackling challenges with curiosity, creative new ideas, and collaborative engagement. I must say that Reflow started a long time before we actually decided on that vision and strategy. So you're way ahead of us. But I think actually we share a mission and share some of the same things. Now, to be honest, I'll say a little bit about Reflow first. I'll not be honest yet, no. Reflow, it's a wonderful project, and you've come so long. And I will talk a little bit about some of the characteristics I see from your project. It's an innovation action project, as you all know. I mean, that's one nice money pot at EU, but it's not traditionally the money pot that research universities go for. So this is actually something that really distinguishes. It's large, it's international, you come from all over. It's cross-disciplinary. And I know that that is just a word, but to work in a cross-disciplinary way is so complicated, so challenging. You start talking to people and you think, what planet did they live on? I mean, I have no clue what they're saying. It's so complicated. I'm sure you were there. I'm sure that now, more and more, you actually speak the same language. You work with cities, you work with technology, you work with materials, you work with measurements, you work across different countries. You've just done everything complicated. You work with your units of analysis and not on the side of them. You don't just study them. That's what we like to do. We don't want it to get too messy as researchers, but you actually do that. And you work with these super complicated systems where everything is dependent on everything else, and at the same time, you're courageous enough to just jump in and do something about it. Of course, you work from linear to circular, but that's, again, easy to say and super difficult to do. And you work with more than one bottom line as a blended value system. And of course, you want to provide tools and processes for real impact. And Cristiana has been the coordinator, and I've met her over the years as a really busy person. And the project coordinators usually also wear extremely high heels. So those are some of the things I think about when I think about Reflow. And I think all of that actually makes it a really different project from many research projects. So let's take the next one. Because companies, but also universities, can actually try to put themselves or establish themselves on various scales of how ambitious they are on their sustainability strategies. And I shared with you before, I think, a wonderful tagline. I think that tagline was one of the reasons I went to CBS. I think it's actually the same for Inger, that we transform society with business. But to be honest, and now maybe the acting president should not be here, but I will say that CBS, we are not higher than a 3. We are on, if we have a scale between denial, which I hope is not really a strategy, but but I mean, you say from denial to transformational, I would say that CBS, as a modern, Nordic, ambitious university, we are not more than a 3. We have departments, we have pockets, we have champions who want to move it, but we have a lot of stuff which is not working with sustainability, which is not working with transformation, where we are simply not there yet. But that's, of course, the reason all of us has a job. So it's super nice. Yeah. You have also worked with how do you actually create change? Do you do that by going out, pushing things, starting movements or actions, or do you do it by regulation? And at least in a Nordic perspective, it's quite interesting to see that Norway has now adopted actually sustainability as part of their University Act. We don't have that in Denmark. In Norway in 2021, they have added actually in the first chapter of the whole idea with universities to contribute towards environmentally, socially, and economically sustainable development. Super complicated, but really nice. If we go to our friends in Sweden, I mean, don't read all this stuff, but I found actually this terrible sentence from an, you could say, an evaluation of where the Swedish higher education institutions are after they, since 2006, actually had it in their regulation to work with sustainable development. And yes, when you go out, and that was in 18, when you go out and look at the universities, they have some courses, they have some student activities, but when it comes to a lot of the other stuff around sustainability, you can see that sentence, it's more worrying that about half of the higher education institutions do not have local overall targets for sustainable development in place, and even fewer perform systematic follow-up, of these targets. Okay, thank you. So yeah, regulation is super nice, but even in countries where we have had regulation for quite a long time, yeah, we are maybe not there yet. So I think we have to work from the bottom as well. Okay, so if I have to look a little bit at how can and should not just Reflow, but universities contribute to societal change, I would say that when we look at research, some of the points I would really love to see happening here and many other places are some of the notes I've written up here. I think we have to challenge our own wisdom or even, our own thoughts. We have not to just take the next step in our research and build upon kind of a cumulative or path-dependent way of doing our research. It's super comfortable, isn't it? Because we know people, we know journals, we know theories, but it might not be the only way forward. We have to maybe sometimes do it differently. Now, I've written be creative when we pose research questions, but I mean be much more creative. Think much more out of the box. Go out, talk to people. Don't think you have immediately the right research question. And I think we do a little, too little of that. We have to engage and involve. That's what you've been doing in Reflow. That's the way forward. We have to engage, and why do we have to do that? Because the problems we investigate now are so complex, are so interrelated, depend on so many things that we cannot just take out a little bit of it and then investigate that in our nice buildings and go back and hope that somebody can implement it. It's impossible. They can't. So we have to engage and we have to involve everybody, citizens, other disciplines, stakeholders. And we have to balance that when we are working with sustainability, we are asking people and ourselves to work with really long-term goals, but at the same time, we must create short-term impact. And it's a very difficult balance. And of course, as you know, we have to move from working with small isolated fields to working much more, embracing complexity. And a lot of research has actually for hundreds of years done the opposite. Isolate problems, investigate them, and that has taken us a long time, or taken us far, but now we have to do it differently. And we have to co-create. Don't come up with the answers, don't think you know exactly where you're going. And lots of people hate that. Send in for the EU applications, again, diagram exactly about what you're going to do. But I don't know what I'm going to do. If I knew what I was going to do, it's not research. And I think we are fighting against the system that still believes that still wants to see things in a linear, planning-oriented way. And it's actually not, yeah, of course there's some research in that, but yeah, I think I would like us to go another way. So let it be messy. Let's take risks, because many research environments, I mean, we are working with new knowledge, and actually a lot of research environments are very risk adverse, because you risk your career. So congratulations to all of you who have actually done a lot of these things. When it comes to education, let's truly integrate global challenges into our programs. Let's not have it as, yes, of course, we have a course on sustainability, or a small minor, or a master. No, let's integrate it so that nobody who leaves the universities can be unaware and not touched about these things. And let's dare give students a value set. I think actually we are trying to do that now at CBS. I can't talk about that, then I'll be here until lunch. But we are trying to do that. And I think we should dare do that. Not just say that knowledge speaks by itself, in itself. No, it doesn't. We have to provide values as well. And if we just sit here, and I'm happy to see that a lot of you are actually quite young, but you know what? The students will come, and the young people will demand it. They want it. I mean, we work with the student organizations. They're way ahead of us in so many ways. So we just have to take up the demand, or even just maybe the needs from the young generation. And in executive education, let's stop just talking. Let's do action learning. Let everybody who does executive education go home and implement things immediately after they've been at that course. The last pillar in a university is how we relate to society, and I actually think that what I'm saying is that we have to relate to society in all pillars, but we must move from dissemination to actually creating impact and societal scaling, and really transform universities, so that's our role. And of course, that everybody, also all of you who are here representing different stakeholders, you are part of our relevant society. Now, 2 days ago, I was at a really nice meeting where somebody who has one of the most sustainable small printing companies in the world, that's at least what he said, people said, hasn't it been difficult? Isn't it difficult? And he said, yes, it's difficult. But difficult is good, because it's not impossible. So let's go ahead. Let's create change in society. Congratulations with Reflow on doing that. And I think you're a very good example for us to actually learn from and try to move our universities a little bit forward. So thank you.
Before we start our first panel today, I would like to give a small introduction. Some of what I'm going to say is a bit of a repetition for those of you who attended the online conference yesterday, but I'm sure that the rest will be innovative and relevant for us. So, as you know, I'm the project coordinator of Reflow, but I'm also an associate professor here at the Copenhagen Business School, and my area of research is performance management and impact. And this is also what we're doing in Reflow, focusing on innovative ways of measuring social impact from the CBS side. But what Reflow as a collective does is way more than that. In fact, we have, as Hanne mentioned before, we have a very large partnership of 28 partners, and our consortium spans over 10 European countries. So, and we have a very diverse crowd that gathers universities, research institutions, but also small and medium-sized enterprises, fab labs, municipalities, and various actors that actually make Reflow so special and would help us create the transition towards circular economy. But we wouldn't be anything without our cities that are at the heart of Reflow. Our cities, Reflow is a 10 million euros project, as you know, that spans over 3 years, and our practices were implemented, chosen from a bottom-up approach by our cities, and they were developed over the years. And our 6 pilot cities, as you can see, chose, when it comes to Amsterdam, chose textile, life cycling, Berlin, water, heat, waste, Cluj-Napoca, energy, Milan, food markets 4.0, Paris, first, material recycling, and Vile, circular plastic. And I really invite you to actually see the booths that our cities have just outside the auditorium here, because they can showcase their excellent work that they have done. And they will also have some time today to do so, as I will say in a couple of minutes. What I would like to show you is a very complicated slide that can be scary at first sight, but it actually kind of summarizes some of the journey that we have been doing. Because what you see on the left-hand side is where we started. As Hanne said, when you write a proposal, you have an idea in mind, kind of an hypothesis to test, but then reality becomes messy as you start implementing your journey. And I guess that, I mean, in Reflow we have evolved over time. And I think the way that our methodology, in that sense, nicely summarizes the journey that we have been doing. So we started with some idea, more of a static representation that had our cities at the heart, but also had a focus on social value, because we were firm believers that you cannot have a green and circular economy transition without societal involvement and without citizens being the key actors of the transformation. However, and we also decided to focus on a few key building blocks, is how we call them at the time, that represented the key elements that we thought were relevant in order to ensure the sustainable transformation and to a circular economy. So we started with society and business, which is our impact assessment and performance management part. But we also have a very relevant technological part that you're going to see in this morning session, where digital ledger technologies have been developed by our partnership. Then we also have the environmental engineering, so material flow analysis, the environmental part of the circular transition, that is the starting point of our journey. And then a governance structure, which is at the heart, how different actors can work together within a city in order to allow for a transition. And then capacity building, because we need also to create competences within our stakeholders in order to enable for an efficient and effective transformation. And of course, communication to raise awareness of our work. And this is the sort of the recipe that we used when we first thought of Reflow. But then as things progressed, actually we realized that it was not a linear journey, that integrating these different parts was actually a recurrent process. It was a continuous learning process, as you can see, that impacted at different levels. So meaning from a basic pilot tools to a societal level as we progress. And we also realized that our actions, the tools that we were creating, the impacts that we were making, actually hit society and the cities at a different level, not only at the basic local level, but also at societal level. So we use this in order to make sense of our journey, but also to systematize this set of tools and models that we presented and we implemented and adapted, tailored with the help of our cities. So I will not spend more time on this, but just let me tell you a little bit more on this conference and how we thought about it. Reflow has, of course, a very varied partnership, but also numerous different stakeholders. And when we thought about a conference that could celebrate the work that we have been doing over the last 3 years, we thought that the best way to do it was, instead of looking at ourselves and sort of patting ourselves on the shoulder, saying how good we have been and what we have been doing, it was really more interesting to engage in a dialogue with the stakeholders that have been critical for Reflow throughout its development. And this is why we arranged a special setting. Yesterday was online and today is in person, where we can engage in a dialogue with international experts in the different fields in order to discuss our results, but also to get feedback and to get different insights from researchers and practitioners alike. So this is why yesterday we focused on public administration, industry stakeholder, research, citizens, and generally speaking, circular economy stakeholders. Part of it has been covered yesterday, but what we're going to focus on today is actually some of the key learnings that we have had in a dialogue with the stakeholders. So the first panel is the circular seat. So we are going to have Ervan Moswan is going to moderate that. Then we were going to have a panel on technology. Dennis Roy will be here with Dine to moderate, and then we are going to have a space for our cities to actually showcase in parallel session what they have been doing, and these are 2 sessions, before and right after lunch. And then the day will conclude with another key element, the social impact assessment that we have been doing, and the legacy of Reflow, to discuss and think together how we can continue with this experience and how our legacy and how our work can live after the 3 years of Reflow. So thank you and enjoy the conference. Thank you for being here.